The group had spent a lot of money training him because they believed he was talented and could become very skilled. So he was acting without considering what might happen next. Knowing Mr. Huang would not easily give up his possessions, had I been too lenient with these hunters, Mr. Huang would need to strongly address Dong-su's behavior to prevent problems like this from happening again. His assistant could hardly breathe in the serious silence. Suddenly the phone rang, and Mr. Huang quickly answered. I believe I know where Mr. Huang might be. It was Laura. Mr. Huang might be. It was Laura. Mr. Huang might be. It was Laura. Mr. Huang immediately stood up from his chair. How? Laura quickly explained. I asked the Hunter Command Center to help, and they looked at where Mr. Huang had been going lately. He changed his usual schedule to visit a place we didn't know about 3 times. Excellent, Thomas nodded, pleased with the information. Laura found Dong-su very quickly. Send everyone there. I am coming too. Yes, ma'am. He stopped before ending the call. Also, how did you get those older people at the Hunter Command Center to help us? Laura. Like the Hunter Association of Korea. The Hunter Command Center also kept track of where hunters were by using the GPS on their phones. The group wasn't usually quick to share information. Even though the Scavenger Guild asked for it, it should have taken hours for them to approve the request. They gave up Dong-su's information very quickly, and Thomas wondered how Laura did it. Her answer was simple. I told them that if we didn't find Hunter Hong soon, you and Hunter Sung might fight. The guild members are moving. Adam, who was watching the Scavenger Guild, quickly told the assistant director, all 100 of them. They just cancelled a raid they had planned. All the hunters were getting ready. What is happening? Adam didn't know what to say. A very powerful hunter from a group called the Scavenger Guild had told a lie and taken someone who belonged to Jin Woo. Now both Jin Woo and the Scavenger Guild were moving to find them. This was very unusual. Guildmaster Thomas Andre must have given the order for everyone in the guild to move like this. Adam felt worried and started to sweat. He was surprised when he saw Thomas come out of his office. Thomas looked around before getting into the car that was waiting for him. The car drove quickly in the same direction as the other hunters from the Scavenger Guild. Adam tried to calm his voice. Mr. Connor Goliath, Thomas Andre is moving. Are you certain this is alright? A worried man asked as he looked at Jinyo, who was lying without consciousness on the floor. Dong-su nodded his head. I don't want to hurt him. I just need to find out one thing. Thomas told me not to harm Jin Woo-sung, and I wasn't planning to anyway. There's someone else I can ask for the information I need. What happened the day my older brother, Dong-suk, Jin Woo, and Jinyo went into that dangerous place? Dong-su told Jinyo he could leave, if he was honest. But even after being treated badly, Jinyo wouldn't speak. The more Jinyo stayed quiet, the more Dong-su began to suspect something was wrong. He only wanted to hear one thing. Jin Woo killed your older brother. With those words his business with Jin Hyo would be finished. But how could this small, inexperienced kid disobey such a powerful hunter? Dong-su thought Jin Hyo was brave. But that didn't excuse what he had done. Dong-su kicked the injured man in his side. Hey, wake up. This was the 3rd or 4th time Jinho had woken up, and then fallen asleep again. Dong-su was getting frustrated and kicked him harder. I said, wake up. Thud. Ugh. Jinho coughed, spitting out blood that had collected in his mouth. His body squeezed up tight. The other boy laughed at how he looked. This one is really strong. Most people would be hurt badly by now. Dong-su's face showed no feeling as he quickly lifted Jinho's head by his hair. Listen. I don't plan to hurt you, the man laughing. He's a very good doctor. He can save you even when you're very close to not being okay. Jinhyo looked up at the laughing man, who smiled and shook his finger at him. Dong-su gently shook Jinho's head back and forth. Jinho's head flopped to the side. They could see inside the dusty building. Dong-su continued talking. This factory has been closed for a long time, more than 5 years. You can shout if you want, but no one will hear you. Dong-su held Jinho's head carefully as he moved closer to look at his face. The two men faced each other. That means you will be in trouble until you tell me what I want to know. When they were very close, Dong-su showed his teeth. So do you want to talk now?
Jinyo's lips moved, but Dong-su could not hear his answer.
What? Dong-su raised an eyebrow and leaned closer. Jinyo whispered something to him. Dong-su's face twisted in anger. He quickly slammed Gino's head into the ground. Whoa. Did you hurt him badly? The healer rushed forward, surprised, and checked Gino's pulse. He breathed a sigh of relief when he felt a pulse. If Dong-su had used a little more force, Gino could have been seriously injured. Mr. Huang, please be more careful. I don't want to help with something that could hurt someone. Okay, Dong-su agreed, but he still seemed worried. Another man tried to convince Dong-su to stop. Let's just leave. Haven't you bothered him enough? What do you mean? I'm not finished yet. A mean smile spread across Dong-su's face. He was just as mean as his older brother. The man looked around the room, feeling worried. That's when he saw something on the other side of the factory. What was that? He tried to get a better look. What? Huh? Both Dong-su and the healer turned to where the man was looking. Standing there was a large orc wearing black armor. An orc. Dong-su stood up. The healer, who had been helping Jinhyo, also stood up. Was someone able to escape from a nearby prison? Dong-su shook his head. If that had happened, the whole area would be in trouble. Just to be sure, Dong-su used his senses to check for any magical creatures nearby. But the large orc seemed to be alone. How odd. Even stranger was that the large orc was trembling with fear, looking very scared, and it was trying hard not to cry. It looks like that creature is afraid of you, Mr. Huang. I don't have time for this. A white light appeared around Dong-su's fist. He walked quickly toward the orc, ready to fight. A deep voice suddenly came from somewhere nearby. Trade. The television showed news about things happening in dungeons. Nothing really big had happened, but more hunters were being killed while exploring. Will my son be alright? Jinwoo's mother, Kyunji, watched the news with worry. Mothers always worried about their children, even if those children were skilled hunters. Baru was hiding, and watching over them as Jinwoo asked, and he could hear the mother's worries. He thought to himself, if anyone can make it through a dangerous situation, it's your son. Baru was annoyed, and had to stop himself from saying this out loud. He didn't want to upset Jinwoo's mother, but he was annoyed. The Kyunji was acting like his team was no better than the animals on the TV screen. He had to work hard to stay calm and not explain why she was wrong. Now, the Hunter Command Center in the United States is holding the news. Reporters started talking about a meeting of international hunter groups, and showed video of Jinwoo at the airport. Kyu smiled brightly, forgetting her worries, as she watched her son surrounded by reporters. Gina, your brother is on TV. Really? Gina stopped studying and ran out of her room. Even though she had seen it before, she still thought it was amazing to see Jinwoo on television. But the two women didn't notice someone else cheering even louder for Jinwoo. Oh my king. Baru stared at the screen with shining eyes. Suddenly he felt cold and started to shake. He had felt this way before. When had that been? Baru thought hard and remembered a time when Jinwoo had looked at him with intense anger. He recalled feeling like something terrible was about to happen, and sensing danger all around. This was the first time he had felt his king's anger since becoming a special soldier, and he froze. But Baru was the king's soldier now. He quickly focused again. The king is very angry. Even though he was scared, Baru knew he could not ignore his king's anger. He tried to talk to the hunter. My king, please stay calm. I will be there soon. A quick answer came back. No, stay where you are. Jinwoo's angry voice made Baru tremble. Yes, sir. He had to obey Jinwoo. Baru wondered who would make his king so angry. Who could be so foolish? Baru went further into the shadows, trying to forget how scared he was. In the city of Busan, the Knights Guild was getting ready for a big mission. Guildmaster Jongsu Park made sure everyone was ready as he checked his team. We've heard about problems happening inside the dungeon, so please concentrate. Let's all return home safely. Yes, sir. The guild members who had learned a lesson after fighting with Jinwoo's helpers shouted with enthusiasm. Yoon Tae-jung, the second in command of the guild, stood beside Jongsu and agreed when something caught his attention. Jongsu quickly turned around. What? What is it? Yeontae looked back and forth between Jongsu and the shadow behind him, then pointed to the ground. Sir, the shadow under your feet just moved. Yeontae stopped talking when Jongsu gave him a hard look. How many times have I told you not to drink anything before we go on a mission? That's not true, sir. I haven't had a single drink today. I really think your shadow was moving on its own. Jong-soo sighed and looked at Yontae, upset. Okay, you need to rest for today. But boss, I'm telling you what I saw. Let's go, everyone. We can do this. Knights. But boss, Yontae's voice sounded frustrated. Reports came in from everywhere. Jinwoo had placed his soldiers saying shadows were moving, but the shadow soldiers didn't worry about what people saw. They were bothered by their king being angry. Switch. Jinwoo suddenly appeared where the big orc had been. Everyone, including Dong-soo and his men, stopped moving like they'd seen a snake. They were surprised by the unexpected visitor. Jinwoo saw Dong-soo, and Dong-soo felt worried. But Jinwoo walked right past him and went straight to Jinyo. The two men standing next to Jinyo quickly moved away. Jinwoo took a healing potion and carefully poured it into Jinyo's mouth. Healing potions don't work if someone is almost out of health. The empty bottle broke in Jinwoo's hand with a loud crack. What else could he try? The elixir of life helped with sickness, so it wouldn't help his wounds any more than regular medicine could cure a cold. He really needed healing magic. Baru was the only soldier who knew how to do healing magic, but he was far away in Korea. Even if Jinwoo called for Baru, he didn't know how long it would take. Dong-soo finally calmed down. You what exactly are you? That orc just now? How did you do that? Jinwoo didn't answer him, and instead looked at the other men standing around. Is anyone here a doctor? One of the men quickly nodded when he heard the word doctor. Jinwoo pointed to Jinyo. Help him. The doctor looked at Dong-soo, who shook his head no. Jinwoo gently lowered Jinyo to the ground and then stood up. This is my final request, help him. The doctor looked at Dong-soo once more. Dong-soo gave the same answer, and the healer looked at Jinwoo with a smile. You'll need to convince my boss first. Suddenly, Jinwoo hit the healer's head on the floor, just like Dong-soo had done to Jinyo. It all happened so fast, nobody even saw Jinwoo move, not even Dong-soo, the very strong hunter. Jinwoo then turned to the other man. What about you? The man shook as Jinwoo came closer. Jinwoo Sung. Hunter Jinwoo Sung. He moved backward and looked angrily at Dong-soo. Mr. Huang. You didn't say this involved Jinwoo Sung. What is happening? What is going on? I only asked if you were a healer. No. I was going to say something when suddenly a man fell to the ground as if hit by an unseen force. Two very skilled hunters were quickly knocked unconscious. Seeing Jinwoo's strength for himself, Dong-soo became very scared. Boss Jinho woke up, maybe because of the shaking ground. Boss Jinwoo knelt beside Jinyo. Jinyo opened his puffy eyes and tried to talk, even though his mouth was bleeding. Dong-soo Hoflan, my younger brother, be careful. Jinwoo felt very sad watching Jinyo struggle to breathe. Shush, don't talk, he said. Boss Jinyo held on to Jinwoo's hand, and tears filled his eyes. Can you stay awake a little longer? Jinwoo asked. Jinyo nodded, unable to speak. Jinwoo gently put Jinyo's hand down and slowly stood up. His eyes met Dong-soo's. Dong-soo looked right back. Dong-soo's knees felt weak from Jinwoo's angry stare, but he wouldn't back down. Dong-soo tried to seem brave as he shouted. You did it. You killed my brother, Dong-soo Kong, didn't you? Dong-soo's scared face came closer. Jinwoo looked at the man's face. This man had been cruel to those weaker than him and helpless against those who were strong. Jinwoo's expression became serious. Tell me, did you hurt my brother and his team? Jinwoo stood directly in front of the man. Ask your brother about it. The man quickly threw a punch with glowing energy at Jinwoo's face, but Jinwoo moved aside and punched the man in the stomach. Oh! One hit was enough to make the man cough up blood. Stop the car. What? I said. Stop the car. Thomas shouted at the driver, who quickly pressed on the brakes. The first car stopped suddenly, and all the cars behind it braked too, making loud screeching sounds. Bam! Thomas kicked open the car door and looked in a certain direction. He growled angrily. No. The best hunters from the scavenger guild quickly got out of the other vehicles, sir. What happened? What's going on? Thomas told his worried team in short sentences. It has already started. I will go first. Follow me. What do you mean? What had started? Thomas lowered himself to the ground before anyone could ask him more questions. His leg muscles got bigger as the hot road warmed up, making the other hunters step back a little.
Whoosh!
Thomas jumped up and disappeared very quickly. Something is coming. Something strong was getting closer and closer. Thomas felt Jinwoo was strong, and Jinwoo felt it from Thomas too. He was holding Dongsu tightly with one hand, and stopped moving the other hand in the air. Dongsu was hurt badly, just like Jinyo. Suddenly, part of the factory roof crashed down as Thomas landed powerfully on the ground. Jinwoo looked at Thomas without even blinking. Thomas stood up and looked around. His eyes went from Jinyo to Jinwoo, then to Jinwoo's hand, and finally landed on Dongsu. He frowned. He hadn't noticed Dongsu before, because Jinwoo was so powerful. It hid Dongsu's presence. Thomas took off his sunglasses. Is Dongsu Hao Chuang still alive? For now. Thomas spoke slowly and clearly so Jinwoo could understand. Let him go. If you do, I won't say anything about this. Please. Jinwoo squeezed Dongsu's shirt tightly. What if I don't want to? One of the best hunters in the world showed his teeth. Most hunters would have been very frightened, but Jinwoo didn't even move. Bring it on, he said. Thomas raised his eyebrows. If anyone else had answered him like that, he would have attacked immediately. He was a highly skilled hunter, recognized nationally, which gave him a special status. This was because he had saved 300 million people in America from a terrible disaster. However, his current opponent was Jinwoo Sung, so he had to be careful and couldn't act however he wanted. Thomas's fingers moved nervously as he tried to control his anger. He squeezed his teeth tightly while looking at Dongsu. He had told him not to do anything. Just as he expected, Jinwoo would be a difficult opponent. Seeing him prove this, if Thomas had to explain how he felt, he would say it was like being stuck in something that pulls you down and won't let you escape. One small mistake, and it would be hard to get away from the powerful threatening energy coming from the Korean hunter. But Thomas couldn't give up either. Jinwoo had a very skilled hunter from the Scavenger Guild firmly in his grasp, and even more importantly Thomas's reputation as one of the best hunters in his country was at stake. Thomas looked worried as he asked a question. Do you have any idea who I am? Jinwoo asked. I don't care who you are, he replied. Just then Dongsu woke up and shouted at Thomas, Sir, quickly defeat this person immediately. Dongsu fell unconscious. His body relaxed after a punch from Jinwoo. Thomas was surprised by this bold action. How could you? Jinwoo was saying this even though he knew who Thomas was. Thomas looked very angry. He had dealt with people who disobeyed him before and knew what to do. Thomas grew up in a poor family and neighborhood where life was difficult. Thomas was the only white student at his school, which had mostly African American students. He had a hard time fitting in and often clashed with others. Sometimes just looking at someone the wrong way would start an argument, and these arguments would often turn into fights. Sadly, some people involved in these fights had weapons. Usually, it was him against a group of people. He didn't have much, but he was very strong. He could easily overpower others. It was lucky that where he grew up helped him develop this strength. Thomas showed how strong he was many times, and people began to treat him differently because of it. He acted like he was in charge. He had lots of influence, money and strength. He understood that in the world, people with power were either leaders or followers. When a new way to gain power appeared, he quickly took control to become a leader himself. If someone didn't listen to him, he used his strength to make them do what he wanted. He made people who didn't respect him show him respect. He defeated anyone who tried to stop him. He believed being strong was the most important thing, and he lived that way. Suddenly time seemed to slow down, and Thomas quickly ran toward Jinwoo, closing the distance between them. They were very close, looking directly into each other's eyes. Thomas shouted that it was all Jinwoo's fault. He quickly reached out to grab Jinwoo's head. Thomas had incredibly strong hands, and he was known for his powerful grip. He was so strong he could seriously hurt even the most skilled hunter. Jinwoo was close enough to win for sure. What was that? Suddenly, a bright light appeared. Hunters from the Scavenger Guild arrived just in time to see something speeding through the side of the old factory. Crash! It broke through the entire wall and slid along the ground, stopping right in front of the other hunters. They were very surprised. Thomas, sir, are you okay? What could have made Thomas Andre fly like that? They couldn't believe what they were seeing. You could see steam rising from Thomas's body from the strong hit. If a normal person had experienced that, their skin would have been badly scraped from sliding on the ground, or their body would have been seriously hurt from hitting the wall. Thomas was perfectly okay, which wasn't surprising since his tank had already survived a powerful attack. But when he stood up he looked very angry. His face was dark as he glanced at the others. They were on his team, but his angry look was enough to scare them. Thomas silently walked back to the old factory, feeling furious. The second in command quickly recovered, and shouted at the rest of the team. "Don't just stand there. Move!" Suddenly, more than 100 of the world's best hunters rushed forward. Jinwoo squeezed his fist after he pushed Thomas away. If he had been even a little bit later, Jinhyo would have been in great danger. When he saw Dong-soo hit Jinhyo on the head, through the eyes of the big orc soldier he became very angry. Thomas's idea that they should all pretend none of this ever happened was silly. Jinwoo had worked incredibly hard to stand up for himself, and not let others boss him around. Thomas's suggestion wasn't worth thinking about. But when Jinwoo said no to the idea, Thomas suddenly attacked him,